I honestly think you're onto something really big. I'm using your like free tools, and I'm seeing things. I'm thinking, do you know what? That makes sense. That's highlighted those text elements as being low SEO similarity score because it's actually not talking about the keyword. That I think that you're onto something massive. I think you could potentially be the biggest SEO tool. To give you an analogy, I've already used your free tool to actually have quite significant success for clients and develop some internal processes based on the free tools that you've got. So I know you're onto something. I know you're onto something big, and I think it's really good.
We typically will give this to everybody after the demo so they can play with it. But this just gives you an idea of how each of these models work in real time. So as you're making those changes, or you can even play with it and simulate if you would make those changes, right? So you can say, you know, right here, we've plotted a course from number 75 to number 1. So this model has found a way, there may be multiple ways, and you can play with this in the calculator, to get to that number one position. You know, a bunch of these up here, and you know, you get down here and you look down and hey, we've only gotten to the 36th position in the model, right? Earlier people that were kind of alpha testers, they were looking at this data and saying it doesn't do anything. Like they didn't see this part, right? So like they would complete these and the tasks would be completed, but then they didn't realize like, oh, you know, there's still some other things that need to be done here. Like, but you get the idea. So like now we're 18, right? Now we actually have ROI from the view of, you know, does Market Brew work? They would see Market Brew up until that break-even point as not working and not understanding like the whole picture of like, you know, it was a combination of all these things. You can't just skip over a few tasks and be like, oh, it doesn't work. We've sort of solved attribution at the moment for SEO, at least the best version I think of that I've heard of. And the fact that we can, as we make the changes to the model, we can see what happens. The model may be incomplete at this point. It'll be far less incomplete in a year. Our company is growing quite quickly right now, so we'll have other search engineers adding, you know, even more full picture of what's happening. But at the moment, right now, it seems to have a clear positive vector on everything we're doing.
Your tool's challenging me to think differently, and your SEO similarity scores, and I'm trying to bodge these things together from an educational point of view, and I'm starting to see results. I'm like, holy shit, this is like, this isn't what people think it is. What's working isn't what people think it is, and the industry's got massive problems, and they're being sort of encouraged, and there is no voice, to put it this way. There's nobody talking this. When they do talk this, they go off on a tangent around Google patents that may or may not even be working, and nobody's actually seriously looking at search engine results to say, okay, because I'll shove them into Market Brew as well to look at your embedding scores and things, and I can see, like, I love the SEO similarity score, which is probably, I actually say, one of the most easy and useful parts of this since I discovered it, or you put it in there, where you've got that chart where it shows the content offset, it shows the embedding score, and I'm just using that now to actually say to people, Luke, there's a load of shit on your page. It's totally irrelevant to the keyword.
For sure.
Let's get rid of that shit and let's actually look at what's matching the intent on the keyword. Oh yeah, great. We're talking about on the page, half the page is talking about service stuff, when actually everyone else is talking about the product, and you can see that you're not talking about the product. You can see it in gaping colors, and which I think is really cool. But because I'm using your tool, using a few other different things, I'm seeing lots of different insights that are screaming out to me. And I feel like almost like sharing all these insights with you guys, because you'd be able to make a million case studies. And
for sure.
And there's tools, the other tools aren't picking up on these things. Is that I think you're onto something massive, stuff like that. And I've taken NLP courses, and I'm not a mathematician, and I know that I am not a search engineer. So I know straight away that I'm definitely not a search engineer, but what I want to do is make great quality on-page stuff for sites.
For sure.
And I think this tool can do this. And the problem I have is when the other tools like Phrase, Surfer, and anything else, I don't think they're on the right page. I think they're in a different tangent to what your tool is, and your tool's on the right page. Well, look, I'm just massively on your side because I think you're onto something.
Attribution is a huge thing. Like to be able to just always fall back, because it's always like when you're in SEO and you start getting the fire, right? And just people asking questions. It's really nice to just turn around and you've got your machine right there. Like you just point to what the model is currently showing. It's like a weather forecast, right? No matter what's changing or whatever, you can just point to the forecast, you know, your compass, And that allows you to make decisions from SEO professional perspective. You're not like prognosticating, which is what we want to all get out of, right? We don't want to be
100%.
these gurus and prognosticators. It should just be like, hey, I'm a good data guy. I see how to, the content structure that Google likes.